Can I Not Marry audio web novel chapter 51, Congratulations, you've been robbed. That evening, Du Lacey had a dream. In this dream she was reincarnated as Princess Anne from Roman Holiday. Riding a little donkey scooter, roaming the streets of Rome with the actor Joe Bradley. Together they had a cup of coffee, ate ice cream and danced together besides the Tiber River. Amongst the wonderful dance music, Anne gently leaned on Joe Bradley's bosom. His broad chest was filled with warmth, making her feel at ease. Joe said to her, "Anne, I love you." Du Lacey's version of Anne, "Oh, Joe Bradley, I love you too." Then the vision before became a haze. When she could see clearly again, Joe Bradley's face has been replaced, the president's iceberg face, his pair of eyes staring at her, growling as he said, "Du Lacey, how dare you climb over the wall, one behind my back? Ah, I do not dare, I do not dare, I do not dare again." Afterwards, student Du Lacey was fully awake from the shock. When she realized it was merely a dream, she breathed out a sigh of relief. Fortunately it was only a dream. What dream? A familiar voice called out. This time it was really true. Du Lacey quickly got up from the bed, and sat on the side of the bed facing Lian Jun, silently staring at each other. He was wearing a light grey bathrobe. The robe was loosely tied, exposing his attractive chest which overflowed with sex appeal. His eyes were sparkling while his hands held a glass of red wine. His slender fingers against the crystal wine glass, swirling the red wine, made Du Lacey think of the phrase, "a beauty to feast one's eyes on." Du Lacey swallowed her saliva. A guilty feeling developed within her heart as she subconsciously looked to the side. Her subconscious actions didn't escape Lian Jun's sharp eyes. Slowly rising from the sofa, he made his way towards her. Du Lacey obviously felt the side of the bed sinking. When she regained her senses, Lian Jun was sitting beside her, appearing to be in a good mood. "What are you doing?" Du Lacey asked. Yesterday she decided to ignore this narcissist pig, however just suffering from one shock, she going to lost foot of her bearings. No, she must hold on. As a result, Du Lacey snorted a sigh and turned her head, refusing to speak. Lian Jun was not angry. He reached out his hands to turn her face back towards him and gently asked, "What's wrong? What's wrong with you? You're most clear within your heart. Who focuses a marriage so rightfully?" Not only did he con her into a marriage, and did not apologize for his wrongdoings, he also placed a diamond ring on her ring finger. Humph. As a woman of the 21st century, she must put on a strong fort, and never compromise. "Did you get hurt last night?" Her strong fort didn't last long. With a sound of clash it entirely collapsed. Du Lacey's face was flushed red. She felt the red marks on her neck began to burn, and her mind couldn't help but emerge out last night that wasn't suitable for children viewing. Hoo, President, you're so rogue. Seeing her face turn from red to white, it was really amusing. His desire fade and rise again. Raising the glass within his hands, he took a sip of the red wine and plastered his lips over. Once the wine aroma hit her nose and mouth, Du Lacey's pair of eyes flustered around. He used his mouth to feed her wine. Heaven, earth. Just use a mouthful of wine to choke her to death, please. Unfortunately, this mouthful of wine kiss could not make a person drunken to death, so after being forced by a certain person to consume the wine, this certain person's complexion was comparable to the wine's redness. It was rosy and plump, causing him to have the urge to swallow her whole. However, Lian Jun refrained from doing this. They had something to do today. As for the other things, he had a lifetime worth to slowly get it done. "Get up," he said. At this time, Du Lacey's spirit was separated from her body. In a daze she could only hum out an N. "Hurry up. Go and change your clothes. N. Do you want me to change it for you?" Her mouth curved into a weary smile. Her eyes wasn't filled with lust. "President, you know you're a hoodlum. T_______T change clothes. Where are we going?" Du Lacey, whose face was still red, asked, not longer having the imposing manner from earlier on. Lian Jun mysteriously replied, "When we get there, you'll know." Then he took her out of the hotel. They had breakfast. The location was an open-air cafe. When did the president become so civilized? Du Lacey whispered in her heart as she restlessly glanced at her surroundings. When her curious glance met with the unique circular and triangular-shaped building, she was suddenly startled. The Pantheon. Could this cafe be in Roman Holiday, where the male and female lead had their coffee? That moment, she suddenly had a sense of substitution, as if she was truly in the streets of 1950 of Rome, where Anya, Smitty, Smith and Joe Bradley sat on the table drinking a cup of aromatic coffee. After the Pantheon, they went to the most Spanish square, where the male and female led in the film had ice cream on the steps together. "I have something. You stand here for a moment," Lian Jun said. Du Lacey nodded her head and whispered in her heart, "If he wants to go toilet, just say so. Why try to find other excuses? Rich people always have too much pride. She fears others will misunderstand him for suffering from XX gland problems." While Du Lacey's mind was thinking of countless wretched ideas of the president's XX gland problem, he had returned with a ice cream cone within his hands. Du Lacey stared at the ice cream while at the same time she finally realized that the itinerary of this trip seems to be exactly the same as the film. The next station wouldn't be the Colosseum, right? Du Lacey asked. Lian Jun nodded. That's right. Then the next station would be a wishing pool. Guessed correctly. Guessed correctly your head are. This is obviously the exact route of the film. President, you did this intentionally, there's no doubt you planned this very early on. His purpose must be to move her this ultimate fan of his to make her the ultimate Roman holiday. The thing that killed her the most was she was actually really touched. President, you indeed not a romantic person, however once you take charge of your romance tactics it's simply inhumane. So this under the president's heavy romantic tactics, Du Lacey finally let down her strong fortress, she resolutely ran towards the president and embraced him. F***ck the damn forced marriage, who cares if she's been conned, she would love to be conned. The president's arrangements were really invincible from the Colosseum to Fountain, from the Fountain to the Wishing Pool, then from the Wishing Pool to the Tiber River, their day route completely went accordingly to the film to completely satisfying Du Lacey's Chinese version of Audrey Hepburn's wish. When their day trip finally came to the end, together they walked in the darkness of the Tiber River. Du Lacey's heart was filled with a sense of satisfaction, she did not feel this whilst in Venice and Florence. She calmly walked to the riverside, although the boat party was long gone, wasn't has long been no the boat party. Although the river wasn't clear as she expected it to be, although the city of Rome is much more older than she imagined. However, when one truly stroll among the scenery, one's heart truly learned to appreciate the taste, she was enlightened by the true Rome. This was a great attraction. And all of this, he gave it to her. Thinking to this point, she could not help but lean against his bosom. Are you cold? Lian Jun asked. Du Lacey shook her head and her heart emitted a taste of happiness. If you are tired, we will go back earlier. I want to stay a little longer. Okay. In fact, traveling for entire day she indeed was a little tired, but she just wanted to sit beside him, even if it were a second or more. Du Lacey stretched her waist, wanting to lift up her spirits, stretching out her hands she felt her fingers were suddenly severely pulled by someone. When she quickly withdrew them, she was dumbfounded. Where's her diamond ring? No, that diamond ring was valued 2 millions. Du Lacey suddenly thought of the joke she heard before. A plane flew over the European sky. When you glance out the window, if you see a pointy tower, then you have arrived in Paris. If you see mist, then you have arrived in London. If you stretch out your hands and your watch goes missing, then congratulations, you arrived in Rome. If you stretch out your hands in the streets of Rome, and find that your diamond ring has gone missing, then congratulations, you were robbed. Sure enough, not far from the riverbank, a black silhouette is seen running.